truth about Tommy Lasorda is a lot more shocking than most people realize. It was revealed that he emotionally abused some of the players he coached, which left many fans surprised. But that's not all. His racist comments came to light, and it had everyone wondering how a man with so much fame and respect in the baseball world could behave in such a disrespectful way. Lasorda faced a lot of criticism throughout his career, especially for some of the racially insensitive comments he made over the years. One of the most infamous moments happened when he questioned the effort of a black player, implying that he was being lazy. Naturally, this caused a major backlash, with many accusing him of prejudice. But that wasn't the only issue that followed him. Some former players even accused Lasorda of using emotionally abusive tactics to try and motivate his team. These allegations included things like publicly humiliating players and tearing them down in front of their teammates, which created a toxic environment. As if that wasn't enough, Lasorda wasn't exactly known for being calm and composed on the field. He had a fiery temper and often got into heated arguments with umpires and opposing players. Sometimes his outbursts went a little too far, leading to ejections and fines. One of the most famous moments of his fiery nature came in 1978, when Dave Kingman hit 3 home runs against the Dodgers. When a reporter asked Lasorda about it, he went off on an expletive-filled rant. This incident only added fuel to the fire, reinforcing his reputation as someone who was outspoken. It was his successful career that gave him such confidence, and his achievements in the game were truly remarkable. Lasorda's journey to becoming a baseball legend started back in 1945 when he signed with the Philadelphia Phillies as an amateur free agent. He kicked off his professional career that same season with the Concord Weavers, a team in the Class D North Carolina State League. But his rise in the game had a slight pause. Lasorda had to serve in the United States Army from October 1945 to spring 1947. Once his military service was over, he came back to baseball in 1948, joining the Schenectady Blue Jays in the Canadian American League. That same year, Lasorda had an incredible game on May 31st. He struck out 25 batters in a 15-inning game, setting a professional record, and also drove in the winning run with a clutch single. He played for Schenectady until 1950, but his time in the minor leagues was far from over. In the early 1950s, Lasorda took his talents to Cuba, playing for Almendares in the Cuban League from 1950 to 1952, and then again from 1958 to 1960. During his time there, he built a solid record, going 16-13 with an impressive 8-3 and 1.89 ERA in the 1958-59 season. Lasorda also pitched for Marianao, another Cuban team based in Havana, continuing to hone his skills in the competitive league. The turning point in Lasorda's career came in 1949 when the Brooklyn Dodgers, noticing his potential, drafted him from the Phillies organization. The Dodgers sent him to the Greenville Spinners that same year, and then up to the Montreal Royals, a team in the International League, where he spent several seasons. His big league debut came on August 5, 1954, with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Unfortunately, things didn't go smoothly for him in his first major league game. He made only one start on May 5, 1955, but it didn't go as planned. Lasorda tied a major league record by throwing 3 wild pitches in just 1 inning and was spiked by Wally Moon of the St. Louis Cardinals when Moon scored on the 3rd wild pitch. Lasorda was pulled after that first inning, and his major league career took a detour. He played in only 3 more games before being sent back down to Montreal, where he was replaced on the Dodgers roster by a young Sandy Koufax. Before the 1956 season, Lasorda was sold to the Kansas City Athletics, but in July 1956, he was traded to the New York Yankees for pitcher Wally Burnett. He spent the next couple of seasons in the Yankees minor league system with the AAA Denver Bears. It was during his time in Denver that Lasorda learned a lot from his manager, Ralph Houck. Houck had a massive influence on Lasorda, teaching him how to manage players with respect. Lasorda later said Houck taught him that treating players like human beings, showing them kindness and support, was just as important as tough love. After a few more years in the minor leagues, Lasorda returned to Montreal for the 1958 to 1960 seasons. He was released in July 1960, but left a lasting mark on the team as their winningest pitcher, with a record of 107 wins and 57 losses. Then came his coaching career, which was honestly a total roller coaster. In 1960, Al Campanis, the Dodgers scouting director, saw potential in Tommy Lasorda and hired him as a scout. But it wasn't long before Lasorda made the jump to coaching. In 1966, he took on his first managerial role with the Pocatello Chiefs in the rookie leagues. A year later, he moved on to manage the Ogden Dodgers, where he became known for inspiring his players in a pretty unique way. To build their confidence, he had each player write a letter to the Dodgers, regular at their position in the big leagues, telling them that one day they'd be taking their spot. It was a bold move, but Lasorda's belief in his players was clear. By 1969, Lasorda had moved up to manage the Dodgers' H8AA team, the Spokane Indians, in the Pacific Coast League. He stuck with the team when it became the Albuquerque Dukes in 1972, and that year he led the Dukes to a PCL championship, proving he could lead at a higher level. But Lasorda wasn't just making a name for himself in the U.S. He also managed in the Latin American Winter Leagues. His time with the Dominican Republic team, Tigres del Liche, was especially successful. He led them to back-to-back Litem titles, and in 1973, his team won the Caribbean Series in Venezuela, cementing his reputation as a skilled and successful manager. In 1973, Lasorda took another important step in his career when he became the third-base coach for the Dodgers under Hall of Fame manager Walter Alston. He served in this role for 4 seasons, and many people saw him as the natural successor to Alston. In fact, he turned down multiple offers to manage other major league teams during this time, choosing to stay loyal to the Dodgers and learn from one of the best. Eventually, after taking on more responsibilities, Lasorda even returned to the third-base coach's box temporarily while managing the Dodgers, showing just how connected he was to the team and the game. Managing the Dodgers was a wild ride for him. It was full of ups and downs. He officially took over the role on September 29, 1976, following the retirement of the legendary Walter Alston. When broadcaster Vin Scully asked him if he felt any pressure replacing such an iconic figure, Lasorda's response was classic Lasorda. He confidently replied, "No, Vin, I'm worried about the guy who's going to replace me. That's the guy who's going to have it tough." This mindset, showing his calm and fearless approach, would define his time as the Dodgers manager. Lasorda didn't waste any time making his mark. He managed the final 4 games of the 1976 season, but it was the following years that really showed what kind of leader he would become. The 1981 season was a particularly unforgettable one in Major League Baseball history due to the unique split-season format that resulted from a player strike in June. The season was split in 2 halves, with the winners of each half earning a playoff spot, regardless of what happened the rest of the year. The Dodgers were the champions of the first half of the season, finishing just a hair ahead of the Cincinnati Reds. When play resumed after the strike, they were pitted against the Houston Astros, who had managed to win the National League West. The first 2 games were tough for the Dodgers. Houston won both, with walk-off hits in each game. To make matters worse, the Dodgers only managed to score a single run in those 2 games. But in classic Lasorda fashion, he kept his team focused and determined. The series shifted to Dodger Stadium for the final 3 games, and the Dodgers turned things around in dramatic fashion. Their pitching staff stepped up big time, holding the Astros to just 2 runs over the next 3 games. The Dodgers took the series in 3 straight victories, proving that they were a force to be reckoned with. Next up was the National League Championship Series, where the Dodgers faced the Montreal Expos. The series was a tough one, with the teams splitting the first 2 games in Los Angeles. But the Dodgers weren't done yet. They had to head to Montreal for the next 3 games, and it looked like they might be heading for an early exit. However, Lasorda wasn't about to let that happen. In Game 4, the Dodgers staved off elimination with a decisive victory. Then, in a moment that would live on in Dodgers lore, Rick Monday hit a clutch go-ahead home run in the 9th inning of Game 5, leading the Dodgers to a 2-1 victory and sending them to the World Series. Lasorda's fiery spirit was evident in everything he did, especially when he needed to fire up his team. One of the most memorable moments of his career came before Game 4 of the 1988 World Series. The Dodgers, considered huge underdogs against the defending champion Oakland Athletics, were struggling offensively. NBC broadcaster Bob Costas had criticized the Dodgers' batting, calling it one of the worst he had ever seen. Lasorda overheard the comments and didn't hold back. He stormed into the clubhouse and yelled at his players, "You hear what Costas said?" He said, "You're the worst offensive team ever." Lasorda's words lit a fire under the team. The Dodgers went on to win the series in 5 games, shocking the baseball world and solidifying Lasorda's legacy as a motivator and a leader. Throughout his career, Lasorda managed some incredible players, many of whom went on to win the National League Rookie of the Year award. From 1979 to 1982, he managed a group of talented rookies, including Rick Sutcliffe, Steve Howe, Fernando Valenzuela, and Steve Sachs. Then in the 1990s, he had another string of future stars, including Eric Karros, Mike Piazza, Raul Mondesi, and Hideo Nomo. By the time he retired during the 1996 season, Lasorda had also managed Todd Hollandsworth, who would go on to win the Rookie of the Year award that year. Lasorda had a knack for developing talent, and his ability to get the best out of his players became one of the trademarks of his management style. Lasorda's final game as Dodgers manager came on June 23, 1996, in a 4-3 victory over the Houston Astros at Dodger Stadium. It was a bittersweet moment for the fans and for Lasorda himself, as he had spent so many years leading the team. But the next day, Lasorda experienced something life-changing. He went to the hospital complaining of abdominal pain, and it was there that doctors discovered he was having a heart attack. It was a wake-up call for the veteran manager. Lasorda had seen the toll that health issues could take on someone's life, having witnessed the death of his friend and fellow Hall of Famer, Don Drysdale, from a similar ailment just a few years prior. That was when he made the decision to retire from managing. On July 29, 1996, Lasorda officially announced his retirement, ending a remarkable 20-year career as the Dodgers manager. By the time Tommy Lasorda retired, he had a 1,599 to 1,439 record, 2 World Series titles, 4 National League pennants, and 8 division titles. His 16 NLCS wins were the most of any manager at the time. After retiring, he remained involved with the Dodgers as vice president and briefly served as interim general manager in 1998. In 2000, Lasorda led the U.S. baseball team to a gold medal at the Sydney Olympics, becoming the first manager to win both a World Series and Olympic gold. After the Dodgers were sold in 2004, he served as a special advisor, helping with scouting and representing the team. In 2008, he briefly returned to manage the team during spring training in Taiwan. In 2011, on his 84th birthday, Lasorda was honored by the Dodgers, with manager Don Mattingly inviting him to be an honorary coach. Sadly, Tommy Lasorda passed away on January 7, 2021, at the age of 93, leaving behind a lasting legacy in the world of baseball. And that's a wrap for today's video. If you had a good time, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out. See you in the next one.